Shocking and disturbing allegations that U.S. soldiers and Marines were being told and are being told to ignore known sexual abuse of boys by Afghan allies. Now, the New York Times is reporting that commanders in the Afghan army have been sexually abusing young boys, sometimes even on American bases. Soldiers and Marines have faced discipline and even had their careers ruined for simply speaking up. One Marine, Lance Corporal Gregory Buckley Jr., was shot to death in 2012 on a base in Afghanistan. His father believes his son's reporting of an incident led directly to his death. Gregory Buckley Sr. and his attorney Michael Bowie go on the record. Good evening, sir. And Greg, first to you, I never know what to say to a parent of a child who has died, and worst of all, died in uniform trying to protect the rest of us. So I must say, my condolences to you, sir.
Thank you.
Greg, what happened?
Well, Greg went over there when he was 20 in April, and after being there for a couple of months, I started getting phone calls in the middle of the night from him, and he just told me that he just didn't feel safe on his base, and he was going to be murdered on his base. And of course, no father wants to hear something like that. And as time went on, it just got worse and worse over there, and at night he couldn't sleep. He just felt very uncomfortable. He just said these people are not right. He says we're here to help them, but they don't want our help. They keep on arguing with me at night, telling me that they don't want us here, And Greg had a disagreement with one of the superiors, and that was it. And then the next day he had to apologize to him, even though he didn't do anything wrong, but I guess that's what they had to do.
Did he know of any sexual abuse by our Afghan allies of boys? Did he ever tell you about that?
Yeah, he told me, Sawar Jan, he's chief of the police. He came in the middle of July, and when he came in with 9 little boys. And I asked Greg, what's that all about? He goes, they're T-boys, they're sex slaves to him. And within that one night, the 9 boys disappeared, and they were told to go look for the boys on the barracks, and they went to Sawar Jan's base or his room and opened up the door, and the little boys, ages from 8 to 13, 14, were underneath the covers, and they were, crying, and they weren't happy, or of course, being abused by 4 other older men. And then they were told by their superiors, another soldier, another Marine, to just back out of the barracks and leave them alone. And they just, it was an awful feeling for my son, who's 20, who believes, he has the right morals, and he couldn't understand how could somebody do this to a little kid. And as you see in pictures of my son, he was friendly with all the little kids there. They loved him. And then for this to happen.
Okay. Michael, this Bachabazi, that's if I'm pronouncing it right, is what's being written in the New York Times, is, literally means boy play, and the allegation in the New York Times article is that our allies, our friends, not our enemies, but that they have this cultural thing where they molest young boys, and that the allegation is that our senior military, looking the other way, Greg's son might have been killed as a result for speaking up. Do you have any more information on that?
Well, it is. I'd like to address it. When they say it's their cultural thing, it's not a cultural thing in the sense that the parents of those boys approve of it and people approve of it. It's a cultural thing in the sense that people who are put in power in Afghanistan often abuse that power. And one of the ways they do it, because they have such a repressed sexual culture, is they turn little boys into these sex toys. And
I wasn't excusing it as a cultural thing. I hope you know that. I was just
but I think it's a misnomer for the military to come out and say, well, look, it's a cultural thing. We have to respect our culture. It's not that there are people there who think this is all right. There's people there who overstep their bounds. And in our situation, the people who are overstepping their bounds are the people who we're putting in power.
Can I have 30 seconds left, Michael? Who killed Gregory?
It was one of the T-boys from this person, Sawar Jan, who came on in his entourage onto the base. And the Marines had previously been warned about this person. He'd been thrown off the base by Major Jason Bresler, a different base 2 years prior to that, and commanders ignored those warnings.
Gregory, again, I'm sorry, terribly sorry about your son. Thank you for joining us. Michael, thank you as well.
Thank you.